So Versace Dylan Blue. I think that the interesting thing about Versace is that they've had some real hit and misses, and one of the big things about them is that they've been trying for the past few years to find what's known as a hero fragrance. And a hero fragrance is something where you look at the brand and you go, okay, this fragrance is that brand. So Creed is Aventus, Jean Paul Gaultier, Isla Mel. No matter how many times they've tried, and they really have tried to create something, they've tried to leave the shadow of La Mel so many different times, but it's never really properly worked out. Chanel has managed to update itself. Dior has managed to update itself. At one point, Dior was Fahrenheit, and that was it, and there was no real getting out of it. And then they got Dior Homme, and then actually they left that and they got Dior Sauvage, and now people know Dior for Sauvage. And in a way, Dior is probably the single greatest designer house at reinventing its hero fragrance. Reinventing the fragrance that it is known for, whilst also seismically shifting sort of the fragrance industry as a whole. And then you get to Versace, and Versace have never really properly found that. They've tried different times. The closest that they really got was Eros, but Eros wasn't actually as big a deal as maybe they wanted it to be when it first came out. And Versace Pour Homme was a good seller. It remains to be a good seller. But then Dylan Blue came out, and I think that is sort of the closest thing that they got to getting a hero fragrance, a fragrance that they're known for. But it hasn't completely worked out. Dylan Blue is a fragrance that I personally do not like. But before you get the pitchforks and come after me, I'm going to say a couple of things. I really respect it, and I think that it's one of the best fragrances or fragrances attempting to do what it's trying to do, which is of course be a general mass market, people-pleasing blue fragrance. It is trying to capture the success of fragrances like Bleu de Sauvage and Blue. Well, I mean that just sort of speaks for itself. Bleu de Chanel, Sauvage, a little bit of Acqua di Gio, Profumo in there maybe, just a few other things that have been successful. So let's get to the presentation. One thing I can definitely say is I think the bottle is very beautiful, really dark blue. Of course, Dylan Blue is referring to a jean colour. Versace has had a very popular range of jeans, and Dylan Blue is one of their most popular colours of jeans, and it's all to do with that, hence the advertising campaign. I think that the dark blue of the denim jean looks amazing along with the gold colour. It's a really, really beautiful bottle. It's a very striking bottle, and I've always thought that. Some people can think that it looks a little bit tacky, but I think that depending on which way you look at it, it either looks like a tacky toy, or it looks like some sort of emerald gemstone, and so it has this sort of uncanny valley in a way, where some people can look at it and go, "Well, that's a lot of rubbish," and other people can go look at it and go, "You know what? I think that's really bloody good," and I'm on the side of pretty bloody good. So a really solid presentation. I would actually give it very high marks. Is it the best looking Versace bottle of the Versace Pour online? You could make that argument, maybe. So, it would be up there with Oud Noir. But yeah, I really like it. I'd give the presentation a 4.5 out of 5. Very high. The scent is, understandably, just very safe and just very mediocre in a way. They wanted to create a blue fragrance that was non-offensive and was going to be, you could pick it up in store and smell it and just go, right, well, I really like that. But one of the things that I really do like about it is that it isn't insulting. There are some fragrances that do just smell like shower gel now, and you pick them up and you spray them on, and it might as well be you're spraying Lynx or Axe, as it's known in the United States, but they've put a price tag onto it for about 45 quid. When you spray it on, it's almost quite soapy in a way, and then it becomes very, very synthetic and fruity. Very, very fruity fragrance. You've got lime, you've got lemon, you've got a lot of citruses. You look at the notes on Fragrantica, and it is basically just lemon, lime. We don't really know, because there isn't too many natural oils that are put into this. It's a lot of synthetic, citron, ISOE super kind of deal with I don't know what it would be. It would be Citrel, Citrionen 65, some sort of citrus-based aroma chemical. Basically, all of those kinds of things put into one fragrance. But it's, of course, it's people pleasing. It's enjoyable, and people like it. It isn't really. I don't find it offensive, and sometimes I can wear it in the springtime and I can sort of enjoy it. But it's incredibly youthful to a fault. It's very juvenile, and one of the things that I do like about it is that it does actually have this sort of edge to it. It has a little bit of a woodiness, has a little bit of a muskiness underneath that gives it a sort of a depth and a balance that most designer fragrances that try to do this kind of scent lack. They're usually very top heavy with citruses and fruity notes to the point where you just don't really know what's going on. It's just so over the top with the citruses, but they at least, because there isn't even a perfumier listed, because I don't think it was really necessarily made by a perfumier. I think it was made a group, just a committee, a decision really, to just make something as safe as possible. But the saving grace is that it's got a bit of wood, it's got a bit of musk, and that levels it out, and it doesn't make it as maybe as obnoxious as it possibly could be. So it's a good attempt, but I don't like it. I think that there are better options for it. There's two things come to mind, because ironically, although it's called Versace Dylan Blue, it's actually very red. It has a sort of a red berry kind of a smell. I even get a tiny bit of strawberry, a little bit of raspberry, that kind of that tone, if you will, rather than a sort of an aquatic or blue kind of smell. If you want a blue fragrance, a genuine blue fragrance, then I think the best blue fragrances on the market are Bleu de Chanel, and my personal favourite is Bleu de Chanel Parfum. I absolutely love that stuff. It's become a fragrance that I really, really love. But if you like those sort of redder cherry berry elements, and you want something as exciting as this, I would actually go for Hugo Boss Red, which is a darn sight cheaper, and it has a rhubarb note, that gives it a nice little bitterness that really brings it all in and is very bright and very nice. And so I'd actually recommend those two fragrances. As for this, on a technical level, it's so mundane and so boring. I'm not really going to get anything out of it, but you might. But from my personal standpoint, it's a 2 out of 5. Is the scent. Projection longevity, I would give the whole thing a 3 out of 5. It's just very, it's good. It's okay. I've worn this in warm weather. I've worn this mostly in springtime, and I've enjoyed it. It's been pleasant, and it's done the course. It's done its allotted time. But yeah, it usually get about 6 to 8 hours, which is nice and clean and tidy for a designer fragrance. Nothing wrong with that. It's really good. Yeah, very good. And so yeah, 3 out of 5, and there's nothing to be ashamed of with a 3 out of 5 rating. 4 and 5 out of 5 is when we're just talking like, you have to shower it off and all that kind of stuff. I only really start to get problematic with fragrance performances when we're going down to about, I don't know, like less than 6 hours or like less than 4. Any fragrance below 4, not great. But yeah, a 3 out of 5 overall. Overall, I'd say that Versace Dylan Blue is a fragrance that is very well loved in this community. I really understand, and I understand the reasons why, and I certainly don't hate the fragrance. I think it's a really good attempt, and I think that there are some good creative and good technical and good practical decisions made with Versace Dylan Blue that's going to make it so that if you're wearing it or whatever, I'm not going to say to you, what are you doing? I get it. But for me, as somebody who has smelt this style so many times, and I've just smelt the best versions of it, I've smelt the worst versions of it, this is kind of like perfectly in the middle. So I'd say overall, to be fair, I'd give it a 3 out of 5. Anyway, I hope that you got the information that you wanted. Thanks very much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, then please subscribe. There are multiple fragrance videos coming out at the moment, a little bit more than I even thought. But yes, thank you for watching. Appreciate it on the Fragrance Press.